All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this public hearing to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
Present.
Here. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear testimony and to discuss the following.
File the council number 91, 2023, establish permit parking in the 800 block of Olive Street.
I have a sign-in sheet here with no names listed on it. I don't know if there's anyone out there that would like to speak to this permit parking in the 800. It's the 800 of Pine, correct? Excuse me, Olive. Excuse me.
Olive Street.
Hearing none, if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
Motion to adjourn.
This public hearing is adjourned. Okay, moving along. So tonight we have some guest speakers here. We appreciate them coming in. We're going to be discussing Nay Aug Park aquatic experience and the plans thus far for the Nay Aug pool that we're all excited about hearing. So Joe Powell's here tonight with the BKP Architects, Eileen Cipriani, our business manager, Scott Gassenmeyer, our Parks and Recreation Director. So thank you all for being here. And I'm going to turn the floor over to all of you to tell us the exciting plans for Nay Aug Park.
Okay, well, thank you for having us all here tonight. BKP has done a significant amount of work. Thank you to the committee that's worked on it, and Councilman Smurl and yourself, Councilman King. We appreciate everybody's input. As Joseph goes through this, you'll see that there was a significant amount of citizens' participation, community meetings, so we were able to really get good information from the residents, and you'll see this through the presentation tonight.
Eileen, I'm going to ask all three of you when you speak, if you could pull those mics just a little closer to you so that everyone could hear. I appreciate that. Thank you. I always have my principal's voice, so I know how to project. I also know how to pull the mic right up to my mouth.
Good.
Are we ready? Okay. Well, you know who I am. Thank you for letting me be here. We've tried to have one of my colleagues from the office join us remotely, and then our sort of a financial/program consultant for the pool, but that's not working out too well. So you only have me, unfortunately. What we want to do tonight is, as you've defined, the problem is the new experience to replace what you guys had up at Nay Aug Park. And the objective, for this evening, is for council to select one of the two options that I'm going to present so that we can go into more detailed design. That's kind of, this is our milestone point for that to happen. As Eileen mentioned, we had multiple meetings. We had at least 5 meetings between the study committee and the public. We had one original meeting with the study committee, which included Eileen and Councilman Smurl, Scott, and a bunch of other folks from the city. They gave us some general marching orders about how to go forward, and we tried to keep those in mind as we went forward. We had a meeting on August 1st up at Nay Aug with about 30 people that attended, and everybody was very excited that this was moving forward and something was going to happen. We had another meeting August 8th, and then we had another one on August 15th, and the thing that came across the most among all of the people that participated in each of the meetings was that Nay Aug is and was a beloved facility, right? A lot of people had great memories of being there, and one of the key takeaways among all the things that we heard was that they hoped that whatever we created, whatever the community, whatever happened from this process, enabled the next generations to have those same kinds of memories from their experiences at Nay Aug. Let's see, what do we have? We have the biggest thing that we also did, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. We had a community survey as well. Sorry, we had 902 people participated in that community survey, which was a pretty good response for the couple of weeks that it was up. 80% of the people that participated were residents of Scranton, and 90% of the people that participated wanted some kind of a new thing. So, there's groundswell of everybody wants this. The 6 key things that rose high on the survey were some sort of a beach entry, a slide, in-water seating, lap lanes, a splash pad, and make sure there was a place for recreational swim. Now, you'll see these things reappear again in both of the options. They also helped us kind of come away with some direction from the study committee at the second meeting about what to make sure we included, which are these items. One of the things that came out of that was no diving board. We had, at the second meeting, the second public meeting, we went back and forth. There was a couple of folks that said, you have to have a diving board. And another couple of folks on this side of the room said, no diving board, they're awful. Yeah, they're, you know. So it was really an interesting back and forth. You know, each of these meetings was like that we had with the public. Everybody had great opinions about what they wanted and what they didn't want. And it was good. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, we got our marching orders at the second study committee meeting. And one of the things that came away as well, and you'll see in both of these options that we're showing you, is there's programming potential beyond just a body of water. Now, we're not saying you have to do these things, but these are things that in the future are potential things that can happen there. In both of these options that you'll see, right? You can do lessons, people can swim, we'll have special needs and inclusivity incorporated into what we do. One of the things that we want to make sure is that you could start training your own lifeguards with the facility. There's also ideas about whether and how we can schedule things, but none of this is what we're asking tonight. We're just letting you know that lots of good things can happen in both of the options that we present to you. So this is what you had. This is a line drawing of what was there. You know, 2 bodies of water, the bathhouse in the middle. There was slides not drawn because it's already taken down. And the pool pump house was off to the lower left. So we did some analysis of the bathhouse. We took a look at the facility, and it's in good shape. It can remain. I think we want to renovate it, and we want to make it work a little different than what it is now. But I think one of the conclusions we took away is that we can renovate this bathhouse and make it work. The other conclusion that we took away, we did a big exercise with the study committee about you know, how people would arrive here and how service would get in. And the upshot of that was that the pump house where it was is really the best place for a new pump house to be in terms of ease of service, right? You can get trucks in there to bring the chemicals and to bring the equipment and be able to move things in and out. So a couple of takeaways on that for this slide. But anyway, this is what you had. Obviously now what's on site is a big empty space. So how do we start thinking about what we do here? And if we just put a body of water, some sort of an experience right in the center off of the bathhouse, we kind of have 2 unused portions of the site that were a little awkward that we bubbled here. So we were concerned about making space that you couldn't use in the future. So what we did is we took the proposed pickle and multi-purpose court design and put it adjacent to what we were doing. And, you know, obviously that takes up one side, but we still had this other side that was a little underutilized. So we slid, we're going to slide the pool options, the aquatic options, down to the lower left, make them more adjacent to the proposed new bathhouse that we do. And then it leaves us another space in the middle that you could use in some way. So being architects, we can't help ourselves. We took a look at what happens if we just flip the court layout. And it seems to be something that might work out a little better in terms of how you use all the available area in the space. This is just for a consideration. It's not obviously part of what we've been charged with. But we like the idea of having a little bit more relationship between the storage building and the existing gazebo. And one of the things that this exercise revealed to us is one of the wings of the bathhouse could really be used to provide 2 restrooms that could be used for folks that use the courts, right? There's room in that bathhouse to make a separate, independent, inclusive bathrooms. Anybody could use them, and there's a little wing on that bathhouse. So we're throwing that idea out for you to consider as we move forward, not to approve tonight, but as something to move forward, that we can use part of that bathhouse to have a public bathroom for folks that use the pickleball courts, so, if you'd like that. So anyway, we've got 2 schemes to show you using all of those things that we put together in terms of how things laid out. So option number 1 is a single body of water. Again, everything's organized near where the equipment will be housed in the lower left. It has a spray ground, it has shade structures, The single body of water has a zero entry area with some more spray features. It's got a place for water aerobics. It's got a place for lap swimming. It has a place for, there's a small slide. There's a slide that doesn't require someone to be at the top of the slide, so it doesn't require more staff. Let me go to the next slide because it starts to point out all the features of what goes on here. Right, we've got our entry at the existing bathhouse. We've got some shade structures. We've got the splash pad. We've got a little lawn area that we've created. We have the slide, the aerobics, the swim lesson area. We've got the recreation area when people aren't swimming laps, that area. The pool will go from the zero entry, and then the program/activity area will be 3.5 to 4 feet deep. And then the lap area will vary from 4 feet to 8 feet. And that's, the 8 feet is something that we think is important because that gives you the ability to train your own lifeguards. To train a lifeguard, you have to have at least 8 feet of water.
John, is the 4-foot area on the lower part because then it connects over to this other section? Like, I don't see separation between the lap pool and the,
There's not. It's one big pool.
one big
In this
body of
option,
water.
yes.
But you're saying in the lap pool, there's an area, one area is deeper than the other.
The very end where the starting blocks are. And again, those are things we can leave in or take out, but we're just showing you where they'd be. That would be the deep end. I'll show you on this rendered drawing.
Oh, there we go.
You can see the water gets a little, the color gets a little darker as it gets deeper. Yeah, this is a little busy, but we thought it was a good idea to kind of point out all the features that this has. One of the things that I forgot to mention when we started looking at these schemes is the two schemes show almost the same size water, almost the same size bather load, and they're almost equal in what we think the anticipated cost and the operating costs are. We wanted to do it that way so that we weren't judging necessarily about the numbers, but about the experience that would be here. So, and again, as I noted before, both of these are able to support all that programming that we talked about, that we went over. So in option number one, the pool, the area is about 8,500 square feet of pool. And we have a bather load of about 550 people. That's your max amount that could be at any one time. And then the splash pad is about 1,100 square feet by itself, off to the side. In option number one, for the 8,500 square feet and the 550 people, when you put in what the aquatics pieces would cost and the pump house would cost and the renovation of the bathhouse and the number for site work, again, these are back of the napkin numbers. They're based on reality, but we can drill down and make them tighter as we design something. We're looking at about a $6.5 million cost for this scheme. And it would cost you about $328,000 a year to operate. Okay. Second scheme, and I have a summary slide that we can go through these later. Option number two, we split the pools. One would be laps and recreation. The other would be zero entry, swim lessons, water aerobics, and activities. And this one has a splash pad. Same thing would come in through the existing bathhouse. The pump house would be on the lower left. And you can see these features most of all the same things that the other pool featured. We're not compromising on the experience in either option. Everything that you can do in this one, you can do in option number one and vice versa, pretty much. It's not compromising the experience. You can see in this one, the activity pool is 4,400 square feet, and the lap pool is 3,800 square feet. And we've got a bather load combined of 533. So again, they're very similar. And in this option, we have about a $6.3 million cost. Again, the same thing would happen in the activity zero entry pool. We'd go from 0 to 3.5 to 4 feet of water, and then we'd go from 4 feet to 8 feet of water in the lap pool. And again, that 8 feet being important for your lifeguard training. So and this one would cost about $318 to operate, and the reason for that is because you don't have to have both of them open at the same time, and you can save a little bit of staff time with how they're used and the way we anticipate possibly scheduling how those pools are used. So one of the things we wanted to put out here is what's the advantage for one pool or two pools? Well, you can see it's easier to keep the smaller pool warmer, obviously, because of the sun, and it's not as deep. You can close one pool when it's not in use, so some of the operating costs would be smaller. And then, the third one's a really key one, and if there's an accident, you can still keep a body of water open, so you don't have to have everybody out of the pool for 4 hours. There's a little bit more efficiency on the lifeguarding, as this says, and then both pools, it gives you really max ability to program a lot of things in this area. And then, we've got things we could do 2 things at once, in this pool. The one pool, obviously you just need to put one set of mechanical equipment. That's an advantage for the one pool. Comparatively, side by side, you can see again, like I said, the numbers are pretty similar across the board. It's really about how you want to approach the project. Obviously, if you go with option number 1, it's pretty much build everything and then, and either yes or no on the splash pad. Option 2, obviously, you could go 1 pool, then 2 pools, and then splash pad, or any combination. There's the ability in option 2 to phase it over time. Not that, that's what you're asking us to do, but it's there if you want to consider that. For the next steps, we have to work on, as we develop whichever scheme you choose tonight, as we have to work on how we build up the city's capacity, whether it's through third parties or other outsourcing or in-house, to be able to do the programs that we think can happen in these bodies of water. There's all kinds of little things that, again, are down the road, what we can do. Not necessarily for consideration tonight, but we want you to know that we're thinking about those things as we go. And that's everything I have. I can go back and forth, toggle whatever you want to see or talk over or ask in detail.
Yeah, with the lap pool, do you know what the dimensions are on that pool?
I know that it's 25 yards.
Okay.
In the long, in the lap direction. It's not a 50-yarder, not an Olympic
And the
side.
25-yard would be
Yeah, and
like
it's got
swim
6 lanes.
competition style
Yep.
length. How many lanes are in it? I know
6. Both of them have 6.
Both have 6. Okay.
And I think the lanes are each 7 feet wide.
Okay. Thank you.
So you can hold competitions here with this if you did this.
And Councilman, one thing to note on this one here with the lap pool, there is an ADA access in the lap pool. On the other one, you'd have to go in through the 0 entry to go all the way over, so it's
Correct. Yep.
it's further.
Yep.
When you indicate shade areas, what are we looking at there?
In the water or
No.
the purple pieces?
Surrounding.
Those are just representative of some fabric shade structures, because that was one of the things we heard. The people want to be able to hang out here, and they want to be comfortable. Now, we don't necessarily think they're going to be in this exact spot as we design forward, but it was the idea that we know we need to incorporate shade structures.
Now,
that
would they be permanent structures or like things that would be put up each summer?
Well, we can do either. Like, we can do armatures that a fabric gets stretched over every summer, or we could do something that is like a little gazebos, little pergolas that you don't have to do anything with each year.
Would there also be like any picnic or like benches and picnic table area?
Yeah, we'll find an area for that as well.
In looking at this also, up on the top right, do those represent tennis courts?
Those are just multi-purpose courts. That was
That's the pickleball court project.
Is it the
the 8 courts are
pickleball?
pickleballs.
The pickleball's the 8, right?
Yeah, the eight.
The others are multi-purpose
Yeah,
courts.
and the others are multi-purpose.
On the far side. And what's in
Correct.
the middle, like a bocce ball type?
No, that's just the space between the courts to sit while you're waiting to play in some sort of shade. And that's why, again, like I said, not being able to help ourselves, we thought that was a nice place to be, make another place, since there was room on this big site that, folks can sit on a bench while they're waiting to get on the pickleball courts or to get on the multi-purpose
Yeah, I
courts.
was going to say, let me ask you this. I go to Stone Harbor, Avalon in the summer, and they have a ton of pickleball courts next to the tennis courts now, down on like 82nd Street, right off the beach. The one thing I noticed that they have a small pavilion, and it looks like it would kind of fit right in between where people would check in
Yep.
to, covered, so that someone that would be working there would handle, all right, you have the court for an hour, here's paddles or whatever it might be, the balls, and so be it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
I was wondering with the annual operating costs, I don't know if you have the figures or not, as to what they were previously with the pool that was there?
Well, and maybe Scott could help as well. That was a bit of a mystery. A lot of the bills are labeled Nay Aug, but we believe it's not all for the pool. And don't forget, at Nay Aug, we had a significant amount of leakage, so the water bills were extremely high. So we did produce some data, for their effort, but it probably wasn't the most accurate and sound data. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, I just went through as much historical data as I could find or attempt to find, and there was just nothing that matched the rates of water usage, electrical usage, anything from those days that we could scrub up to give a relevant number. So these are all based off current rates of utilities.
Eileen, isn't it fair to say that therein lies the problem in the past? Proper planning prevents poor performance. So you go and you build a brand new facility, but you don't take into account the upkeep. Like when you buy a house, you build a house. If you don't have cost built in there for the upkeep, you're creating a whole new problem.
Right. I mean, once we get the facility up and running, we'll have to put a dedicated line item into the budget to be able to maintain it, because you're right, wear and tear, it's out in the sun,
Maybe
it starts
that's where some of
deteriorating.
our nonprofits can step up to the plate and help us out.
So the operating costs don't include what that maintenance line item would be?
I believe in the pro forma detail, there is a little bit of a line item for maintenance. I don't think, it may not be enough, but we're still evaluating all of the numbers, but there may be a little bit in there. I mean, this, it includes staff costs and, includes utilities and those things as well.
Can we get a mock-up of that?
Oh, you'll get that. We just didn't bring it tonight to overwhelm everything. So, yeah, we have it, and it'll be part of the big report that we're putting together.
Okay.
Right, and they did have the 328,220, that was collective of what they put together. So they do have a breakout of what they think it'll be.
Yeah, if we can get a copy of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So can we go back to the two options now? The one is really one body of water all
Correct.
connected. And you said one of the biggest disadvantages is if there was some type of issue in the water, emergency issue, I don't know whether it's a blood or injury, that would close that entire
Correct.
pool down for
Yep.
however long.
Yes.
That has happened multiple times during the summer too. So anytime a pool were to have some sort of bodily fluid or anything inside of it, it must be closed for at least a period of 4 hours for the cleansing and to be shocked. And at that point, with our operating hours of 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. this summer, we're all pools, the pool was just closed for the day. So that does lead a pro, I guess you'd say, in the two-pool mind, or in the two-pool area, because then you could still have that other pool that's optionable to be utilized by everybody. And that's another handoff to having the splash pad up on each of those designs, because the splash pad, I mean, me as a father, when my son was younger, he loved the splash pad. He also loved being in the pool. But when you get those younger children who are still in diapers, who are not yet fully potty trained, things of those nature, you get them in the shallow end. Well, even if it happens at the shallow end in a one pool concept, the whole pool is done. So that takes that infant to 3-year-old range of children out, and your parents can still monitor them, observe them, have them at the splash pad, while the children in the 4, 5 to 7 and 8 range play in that shallower end, that activity area in the very beginning from the zero entry where those other features are right there. And that'll kind of spread out the age demographic throughout the pool, where you get more functional use for every age group and every person that's trying to utilize it.
So under programming potential, are some of these activities, or could some of these activities be revenue producing?
100%.
Yes.
And that's,
I mean, we don't want to charge kids to swim, but some of these look like they could be
And that's why we
revenue
wanted you to
producing.
see them, because they are things that can, yeah.
That could help with some
Correct.
of the sustainability. And then second, so did I hear correctly that option 2 seems to be, or is it more ADA friendly? I like the option 2 in case there's an accident in the pool. That happens all the time, I get that, so you have a second pool. But did I hear correctly that this one seems to be more ADA friendly?
No, it just has an additional component because it's 2 bodies of water. Option 1 is the zero entry makes that 100% accessible.
Right, sure, that's-
And it's only one body work, so we didn't need to add the ramp for the, in the lap area.
So in option 2, both pools are still accessible?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of moving forward from here, what would be the next step? I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
Yeah, and the thing. Bill, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying that we have the two options in front of us now. Wasn't sure if anybody else had any questions beyond that.
As far as the two options, the second option, we took both options up to the Recreation Authority meeting last month. They did choose the second option for the two pools. There's just a lot more advantage to that, to the two pools. And it was cheaper under construction, and it was cheaper to maintain. So they did unanimously vote to go with option, I believe it was number 4 at the time.
It was 4 at the time, yeah.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that, we had like 7 options.
So we're
and
number 2
We winnowed
now.
it to these 2.
But it's the same drawing, different number?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so it's option 2. So are you asking council tonight to tell you what option they'd like?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
that's good.
that's the takeaway I'd like to go with tonight, that you tell me which direction to go, and I can start making all these things more concrete.
Okay, well, Bill, you will take care of that, right? If you want to make a vote or...
Well, I don't think that we can, we would probably have to put this in the form of a vote and put it on a formal agenda. I thought tonight is pretty much discussion about the two options. Obviously, we can absorb some of this, but I would recommend that if after hearing this presentation tonight, the council is comfortable with moving forward with taking a vote on one of these two options, that we put it on the agenda for next week, and we go from there.
So at this point in time, this is the study piece of the
Correct.
the contract. The design piece comes next.
Correct, yep.
So that study and design piece was, I think it was worded together, but you said you'd be bringing the design piece in front of us for a second vote?
Right, once we decide which direction we're going in, we'll start into the design portion of it, but then we can come back when it gets to the next level before it goes to the construction phase, obviously.
Can you just run over the funding options of this and how we're going to?
So as you know, when we did the ARPA budget last week, we pulled $3 million out of the revenue loss bucket. So we have an LSA grant that we're actually funding this portion of the work out of. That grant was $1 million. So we realized we don't need half of it for the rest of this engineering. So we'll go back, once we decide on a plan, we'll go back to the CFA and ask them to repurpose that to bring over the other $500,000, that's 3.5. You'll see coming before you in the coming months, there's a statewide LSA that's open. We are going to apply for $1 million through the statewide LSA. So we haven't figured out exactly which piece of this, because grants are usually better funded if we apply for something that we could do in its entirety. But you'll see it come. It'll be for some portion of the swim complex. And then we're waiting for the RAC piece to open, and our intention is to apply for a RACP grant for the remainder of the balance.
Eileen, I know that the RACPs are, 100% match, right?
50.
Oh, excuse me, 50% match.
Right.
So if we were to get that additional LSA grant, that would be an additional $1 million, which would get us up to $4.5 million. So that would mean we potentially would apply for a $2 million RACP and use the ARPA funds, the revenue loss ARPA funds, to match.
The RACP. The LSAs don't have a match. That would just be a standalone piece of its own.
Right, but then my point is, that'll help reduce what we have to try to submit for RACP.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
What about the time frame for the awarding of these potential grants? I mean, they're not guaranteed, so
We're
I
not
understand the process,
guaranteed.
but some take longer than others.
Right. So when you look at this and you look at the three different, the broken apart pieces, that actually helps us in the event it has to be phased, because we can't, guarantee funding, from the state or from any of the grants. So that actually will, I think, help in this process, that we could actually do pieces of this independently.
And the ARPA money being used first, obviously.
Right, because we have to use it first because
Right, 'cause
its
there's a
time is going
timetable on that, too.
to go out on us, yeah.
And then, Mr. Powell, when it comes to, your estimate beforehand, and then when it comes to final cost, what are you noticing? Have they been coming in within budget? Have they been coming in percentages over? Where are they in terms of the budget of the
Costs
project?
are usually coming in high, but I've built in 30% additional money into these numbers.
So right now, you have a 30% increase already
Correct.
in
Yeah, that
in
includes
this.
an escalation, it includes some contingency, and it includes a couple of other things that are built into the numbers I'm showing you this evening.
Okay, so the 30% is already built in?
Yes.
I had just one more question, just about pool maintenance. Do we regularly have like an outside pool company that assists with maintenance of the pools, or is it all with Parks and Rec?
We will outsource when necessary. All of our pool maintenance individuals on the Parks team are all certified in pool maintenance from a federal grantee or company. So they actually just got recertified. So they are good to fix almost anything except for when you're short of like welding a filter or grouting and sealing up leakages and cracks. And that's about, and obviously like concrete leveling and work. And those three items are three items that prohibited one of our pools from opening this year until later on. And so those are the things that we get hamstrung by, but everything else that our pool maintenance professionals can handle within
Okay.
Parks Department.
Great, thank you.
So while we can't vote on this tonight, based on your presentation and looking at the numbers and looking at the designs and the pros and cons, I believe where I sit is with the two different pools for two reasons. One, obviously, if one is down, we could still maintain the other ones, keep them moving or open at least. And then the other one is obviously it's a little bit more cost effective than the other one. So that's kind of where my head is at. But I don't know where others. Well, as I said, we can't vote on this tonight. But okay, so if no one has any more questions, I will thank you all for being here tonight and presenting these exciting ideas to us, and we look forward to moving forward at our next meeting with a motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
We'll take a 3-minute break so that BCTV can get set up.